What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here. Back again talking college basketball on The Daily Show. It is Saturday, February the 22nd, and we have one of the three remaining mega Saturday slates of the year before we get to conference championships and March Madness. Before we get started, if you like this content, please subscribe, leave a comment, or just hit the thumbs up on the video. All of that helps a ton. So thank you if you've been someone that's done that already. I really appreciate it. It's not lost on me. You're taking your time to go out of your way to do that. All right, we'll keep the recap short. I'm on the road this weekend, so it's made things a little difficult. I can't say that I had eyes on the Marquette or the Michigan losses. I'll call it the Marquette beatdown. My good old Marquette hat here, not looking so good this morning, but maybe we'll do a longer recap on Monday when I have time to circle back to all these games. But luckily, Milwaukee saved us from being a sweep. We go 1-2 in the day. Milwaukee gets a win over Youngstown. Dayton lost, and we didn't end up taking the Michigan or the Marquette game. Those were two. This is why we have the model. My intuition incorrect. The math ends up being correct. The math would have said, just based on the model running on its own, either stay away or play Michigan State or Villanova. I lean the other way, which, the model is my sort of checks and balances. I end up not taking either side and luckily save myself some money there. But let's get into the top of the Saturday slate. We are going to have a rapid fire section. We're talking mostly the big games. I had to do a lot of this writing in the car before lines came out. So, you're writing about games you're not sure the spread and total on at the time. Great slate up top. In the SEC, we have Tennessee taking on Texas A&M. Both teams have been a little up and down of late. The spread is 2 points in favor of the home team, Texas A&M. The total is 130.5. Felix Okpara is the only one that popped up with an injury in the game. I still think he goes. As far as resumes, Tennessee's 4-4 against top 25 teams. They beat number 13 Missouri, number 4 Florida, number 21 Illinois, and 25 Louisville. Pretty good resume. They've only lost to number 17 Kentucky. That happened twice, and then they lost to Auburn and Florida. So all top 20 losses. Their lone loss outside the top 25 was to Vanderbilt at 47. So it's a very good body of work. Texas A&M is much of the same. They do have a few more poor losses. They have 3 outside the top 34, Oregon, Texas, and UCF. A lot of the tie-end wins as well beat Texas Tech, Purdue, Ole Miss, Missouri. Those are all in the top 25, putting them at 4-2 against that level of competition. The big story with A&M is they just can't shoot. 296th in effective field goal percentage, 297th from 3. They do make up for this by rebounding at the 6th best rate in the country, first on the offensive glass. But Tennessee's actually taller. They're 48th in effective height versus A&M at 243. They're awesome on the glass themselves. That's going to neutralize some of these advantages, I think. And Tennessee's just better at shooting. Not by all that much, being 89th in effective field goal and 159th in three-point percentage. It's better than A&M, but that's not saying a ton. They're extremely reliant on Chaz Lanier at 40% from 3. No one else is above 32, so they're lopsided towards one shooter as well. We'll see where this actually comes in. Both these teams are awesome on defense. A&M is 6th. Tennessee's actually 2nd. Tennessee does have an advantage turnover margin-wise. Both teams force a lot of turnovers, but Tennessee's only 111th in turnovers committed. A&M's 238th. There's a lot of road teams I have interest in backing. The math actually says to take this one, we make this closer to a pick'em, and you can find Tennessee at a +2 right now. So I'm actually pretty interested in this. Again, hesitation just with my own biases, but right now we're showing some value on Tennessee. We'll debate this throughout the morning. And if it goes through, you'll see it in the Discord. If you're interested in that, that's where we take all these lines. We took a bunch ahead of time. I'm going to rapid fire a lot of those at the end of the show. And we take more throughout the day when there's injury news and such. That's where you can find the late information. We do projections for every single game, sides, totals, all the way down to the player level for the major games. So like on a Saturday, today we're doing 27 or 30 games, somewhere in between those, because there's a lot of high-profile games. The link will be below if you're interested. It's no long-term commitments, $10 a week. 30 for a month. Again, no long term. Anyway, next up, we are going to remain in this conference. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've not had a great read on Kentucky since the injuries. And honestly, it's probably a disservice to Kentucky, in my opinion. Right now, let's just go through the injuries. Kentucky, Lamont Butler, Jackson Robinson, Kirk Kriisa all out. Alabama has a few themselves. Obviously, they lost Latrell Wrightsell for the year. And Darian Reed, he comes back for a game, then he's back out. He's out again. On the interior, Mark Sears jumped on the injury report, popped up, but it's listed. He's listed probable, so not really a big problem there. Spread is 10 points in favor of Bama. The home team totals 180.5. Bama's trying to get off this losing skid they've been on. This is a rematch. They played on January 18th. The game went crazy, 102-97. Bama won on the road. Bama didn't have Darian Reed in that game, and it was a rare, healthy Kentucky game. Lamont played, Jackson played, Andrew Carr played, but we have kind of different profiles in this game. Alabama's lost 2 straight, both to great teams, Auburn, Missouri. They're 4-4 against the top 25. Only non-top 25 loss was to Oregon. That was in Vegas. Kentucky's 7-3 against top 25 teams. They've been streaky. They have 5 losses outside the top 25, and they sort of bottomed out against Vandy at 47. So that's not even that low of a bottom. They have more wins against like crazy good teams. At the top end, they have 4 wins against the top 5. Tennessee twice, Florida, and Duke. And when I say top 5, I'm talking efficiency metrics, not like whatever the AP is putting out every single week. But right now, Tennessee, Florida, and Duke are all top 5 efficiency-wise. Bama does have a lot of edges inside. They're 5th in effective height, 17th in rebounding, 2nd in interior scoring. Kentucky's 51st in height, 59th in rebounding, 243rd in interior defense. That has been rectified a little bit. They've been giving Amari Williams more minutes. He's stiff in their rim protection, but it's still an edge for Bama. Outside of that, Kentucky's better on the perimeter. Shooting-wise, they're 21st in three-point percentage. Alabama's 29th in three-point defense. I will say 2 of the better shooters in Lamont Butler and Robinson aren't going to play, so that might dock them a little bit here. But when you just compare that to Alabama shooting, they're 154th in three-point percentage. Only Aiden Holloway is above 40%. Mark Sears, Chris Youngblood, they both sit at 35%. And that's been a regression for Sears. Youngblood had to make a jump in competition, so it's a little different from him. This team's just not shooting as well as you thought they would. We make this closer to like a 6, a 7. Now, I've had trouble factoring how much Lamont and Jackson are worth. Kentucky's continued to win games, continue to play games close, which makes me think maybe I'm overvaluing these injuries previously. So right now, I just tentatively dock that a little bit, which makes it inside the 10. Again, I'm not going to lie to you. If you take them out fully and you just remove the full adjustment, it gets closer to 10. There is a little bit of feel with this spread. And honestly, I docked it a little bit because I thought, based on what we've seen on the court, that I might be overvaluing this. I'm debating playing the 10. This is just a lot of points. I know it's crazy. Alabama's going to pressure them. No Lamont is going to be huge in this guard matchup. But, man, getting 10 points even on the road is pretty crazy with this Kentucky team, which continues to achieve despite the injuries. All right, we have a crazy game out west. St. Mary's takes on Gonzaga. This game currently has a 6-point spread in favor of the home team, Gonzaga. The total in the game is 142.5. Honestly, surprised it's that high given what St. Mary's is going to do. Gonzaga will play with pace, but St. Mary's is the 4th slowest team in the country. And they did this in the first game. They're going to try to grease this up, slow it down, be physical, and win like that. Again, rematch, February 1st. These teams play. St. Mary's won 62-58 on their home floor. Gonzaga shot 17% from 3. They were the team in foul trouble. They got out-rebounded. They got out-physicaled. St. Mary's is 1-0 against top 25 teams. That was Gonzaga. Their 4 losses outside the top 40. Their worst came to San Francisco, who's 64. So all pretty respectable losses for St. Mary's. Gonzaga's 0-2 in the top 25. They play a pretty difficult schedule, but some of their wins have not aged like they thought they would. They have some uncharacteristic low-end losses, 46 West Virginia, 80 Oregon State, 57 Santa Clara. Some of those more respectable than others, but it's just a weaker Gonzaga team than we've seen, and we're looking at probably an 8 seed when it's all said and done, maybe 9. Who knows? If they win this game and do some damage in their conference tournament, maybe they get as high as like a 6. They're weird because their quality metrics are very good, but their resume is not. Stylistically, both teams are tall. Both teams are strong on the glass. Gonzaga is a little better scoring inside, but St. Mary's is a little better at interior defense, which makes a fairly neutral matchup on paper. I guess Gonzaga's best advantage comes on the perimeter. They're top 100 in three-point percentage. St. Mary's is just outside the top 100 in three-point defense. But neither of these teams shoot threes. We're talking about bottom 300 teams in three-point rate. Again, this is going to be a greasy game. St. Mary's is going to slow this down. Going to try to slow down Gonzaga's up-tempo offense, out-physical Gonzaga, win on the glass. And I think this inherently gives some value to the team catching points. Catching 6 is a lot in this kind of game. But at the end of the day, we make this closer to like a 5.3 versus a +6. Generally, I'm looking for, 1 point of value or more against the spread. But this is right on the border for me. St. Mary's played awesome of late. Gonzaga's been up and down. St. Mary's already won the game, albeit on their home floor. Now they have to travel. A lot of points. We're going to debate St. Mary's and take this probably closer to tip off and see if we don't get, a 6.5, something like that. If we got that or a 7, that would be a go. All right, one we did play and feel fairly confident in. In Madison Square Garden, Illinois takes on Duke. The spread is 8.5 points. The total is 156. This opened north of 10 in favor of Duke. And I think that's probably where the line should be. More on that in a little bit. Injuries in the game, Morris Johnson, he's out. Jake Davis missed their last game for Illinois. Duke lost Malik Brown. So a lot of rim protection removed from these two teams. The difference is Duke is much deeper than Illinois. So this is a weird non-con game, obviously scheduled well in advance. Illinois has fallen to 2-6 against top 25 teams as they've battled every form of adversity, injuries, fouls, recently illness. They did beat number 7 Wisconsin and 13 Missouri. Both of those were in December. They do have 3 sub top 50 losses, the worst of which was Rutgers at 73, still not all that bad. Duke is 3-3 against top 25 teams. Their lowest loss is to Kansas at 24. And I almost think it's respectable that Duke hasn't dropped the game to an ACC team. The ACC is trash. I'm not saying that they should lose a game in the ACC. If they did, it would be either probably Clemson or Louisville. But it's like you just play a lot of games. And when you play a lot of games, like your chance of winning them all is low. Catching an L against a bad team wouldn't be all that surprising off the sheer amount of games played. But they've held strong, took care of business. As far as stylistics go, there's a little bit of noise here. Illinois is taller on paper. They're pretty good at a lot of interior metrics, rebounding metrics. The problem is they've only been without Morris Johnson for 2 games now. He's their best rim protector. He's their best defender. He's their best rebounder. Duke is top 10 in every interior metric, and you just remove the only neutralizing factor on the other end, especially defensively. Yeah, Yakusonis is more of a wing. Ivicic is better on the offensive end, certainly, than defense. But yeah, it's going to be tough for Illinois now, losing Morris. Illinois can't shoot. They're 307th in three-point percentage, but 26th in three-point rate. Why are you taking the 26th most threes in the country? Duke's defense, phenomenal on the interior. Length across the floor, excellent rim protection, will force you to shoot threes, and Illinois is horrible at that. Even when you get threes against Duke, we're talking about Cooper Flagg, Conconipple, Sion James, Tyrese Proctor, length at guard. So your shots are going to be contested. And from there, Duke is 23rd in three-point percentage. Everyone's hitting at least 37% of their threes or better among their elite guards. Illinois is bottom 10 in turnovers forced somehow, so you don't really create any ball pressure. We made this about -9 with Morris Johnson in the lineup. I think when you remove him, it should be closer to the opening spread. Now, maybe you could argue there's some room for growth for Illinois because of all the adversity. Like Yakusonis had some fouls. Ivicic had mono and was sick last week. But there's some give and take. The give is you lose Morris now. So it's just tough for me to back Illinois. I took Duke minus the 8.5. Completely comfortable with this one. No issues whatsoever. Next up, where are we heading next? I removed the Iowa State game because obviously the injuries. All right, back out west. Mountain West game. San Diego State takes on Utah State. Spread is 6 points in favor of Utah State. Total is 143. This is a rematch from December 28th. Utah State won on the road 67-66, and they didn't have Drake Allen. They held San Diego State to 25% from three. Maybe not held. San Diego State can't shoot, so they might have just done that to themselves. But really important game in the Mountain West. It's number 2 versus number 3. They're trailing New Mexico. San Diego State is 1-1 against top 25 teams. They beat Houston in Vegas in non-con, but they are so streaky. Losses outside the top 50 to number 94 UNLV, number 68 Colorado State. Weird body of work for this team, but oftentimes when you can't shoot, you get these streaky outcomes. Utah State is 1-0 against the top 25. They beat St. Mary's at number 20. They have one loss outside the top 40, also to UNLV, apparently the kryptonite of the Mountain West. As far as stylistics go, San Diego State is 12th in effective height, 117th in rebounding. Somehow, Utah State is 111th in effective height, but 69th in rebounding. Weird to me that the shorter team is more effective. But Magoon Guath on the inside has kind of come into his own. So I think this might be a little overrated. These teams are polar opposites. San Diego State is 225th in effective field goal percentage, but 9th in total defense. Utah State is 11th in effective field goal percentage, but 112th in total defense. I will say Utah State does have some of the margins in their favor. Turnovers, fouls, both work in favor of Utah State, but this is a lot of points. Like St. Mary's, we make this closer to like a -5. There is value on San Diego State. I am sort of snake bitten with some of these volatile teams. Like I've been backing Texas A&M at times. And when these teams that are volatile lose, like they will lose. Alt lines are in play for games like this. You know, like a San Diego State money line is honestly a little more interesting to me than the spread because this team is hyper talented. They really only have one shooter in Nick Boyd, but very talented roster. When things come together, like they could win this game outright. When they lose, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this game by 15. Again, they shot, 25% from three in the first game? If they do that, they're cooked. So mathematically, we show an edge to San Diego State plus the 6. I'm more interested in some of the tail end outcomes that come when you're so volatile. Last up, before we rapid fire, Big Ten game, Oregon, Wisconsin. The spread is 9 points in favor of the surging Wisconsin Badgers. The total is 155. No major injuries. Oregon, awesome start to the year. Really streaky of late. 4-6 against top 30 teams. Beat Texas A&M, Alabama, and Maryland. Since then, I guess actually, you know, when you look at this, they only have one bad loss. Outside the top 37, one loss. And it was Minnesota on the road. Tough road trip. Wisconsin's 3-3 against top 25 teams. They don't have a single bad loss. Their worst loss is to number 26 Marquette, which has aged poorly. That was previously like a top 15 loss. They beat Purdue over the weekend. They beat Arizona in non-con. Just a phenomenal resume without holes. Both teams are tall. Wisconsin's a little shorter, but they're actually better in rebounding. Wisconsin's 29th in effective field goal, 44th in three-point percentage. Also 33rd at interior scoring. Oregon's weakest on the interior somehow. They're 183rd there. I mean, this is a tough matchup for Oregon. Wisconsin can score everywhere, and there's a weakness inside. Oregon, 126 in three-point shooting. 2 shooters at 39% or better. Jackson Shellstad, Keyshawn Barthélemy. I will say we do have some positive regression due for Angel, Tracy, and Baba, who are all shooting below their totals from last year. Baba significantly. He went from 37% to 26%. Wisconsin's biggest weakness is their three-point defense, but they're still 119th. Not much to really say here. We make this just outside the spread, but overall, it's something that's pretty efficient. We make it like 9.3. All right, to close this out, let's go through some rapid fire quickly. We had Wake Forest, NC State under 137, Penn State plus 3.5, Florida minus 10 against LSU, Missouri minus 1.5, and Ole Miss plus a 2. Thank you, guys. Oh, if you or somebody who knows a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, just play in most areas. Want to get that in there. But thank you for watching. More will be on Twitter today, @Matt_Gajewski. We'll catch you tomorrow, and good luck.